This is the HaltingWinter Podcast. I'm your host, Seth Winterhalter. Thanks for joining us today as we dive into really a mid-year business checkup. How do we take the time to realign our goals in order to boost our performance in the second half of the year? We are now in the month of June 2023, and at the end of this month, it'll mark the end of quarter two and halfway through the year. So we should get a jump on it. We should look now so that we can actually plan ahead. Again, the HaltingWinter Podcast. I'm your host, Seth Winterhalter. We are here. Why are we doing this podcast? It's to help eliminate the stress and frustrations you encounter as a business owner as you try to run your business. We want you to enjoy your work. We want you to grow your business, and we want you to double your revenue year after year. Why? Why do we care about doubling our revenue? Because revenue, money, is a statistical metrical thing. Metrical is a metric that we can measure. And the issue is we often don't measure metrics, we measure emotions. How do we feel? Well, we're tired. Well, tired doesn't matter. You can be successful and tired. You can feel great and be not successful and go out of business. So we want to measure things that actually indicate, are we healthy? Are we growing? So it's not just money, because guess what? We could fleece our customers and make a lot of money. So I want to ask you, do you enjoy your work? Enjoying your work should be a matter of enjoying what you do, but it should also be enjoying serving your customers, helping your customers solve problems with your products and services. So as you enjoy your work personally, as you enjoy your work professionally, as you get to serve customers, that should return in an economic increase. You should be growing economically. You should be growing in your revenue. And if you're not, then you're doing something wrong. Then you're a nonprofit. And nonprofits still have to make money or else they go out of business too. So we want you to enjoy your work. We want you to serve your customers. We want you to grow in revenue. Healthy things grow, dying things decay. Let's grow, not only for your success, but for the success of your customers. Okay, that's why it took a little time there to remind us what we're doing. I've taken a few weeks off the podcast, doing some my business work, right? Assessing, adjusting, and getting ready for the second half of the year. And so I want to do the same thing with you. I want to ask you, let's do a mid-year business checkup and really ask ourselves, how are we doing? And again, it's 1 month away until the end of quarter two, and then we are into quarter three in the second half of the year. We got to get ahead of the curve. I have a friend who is a big race car fanatic. Formula One. In fact, he took me to the Formula One race here in the U.S. a few years ago down in Austin, and it was a great time. A rain deluge. It was crazy. It flooded the entire time. They canceled most of the race. Didn't even know if the race on Sunday was actually going to happen, but it did. It was a great time, but one of the things I learned, not only is he a race fanatic, he is a go-kart fanatic. He races go-karts. And one of the things we ended up talking about that he told me is that when you race, you've got to learn how to brake before the curve so you can actually accelerate into and through the curve. A lot of amateur drivers will rush into a curve and brake as they are turning. And he said that is not the way it's supposed to be done. You need to figure out your timing so that you brake before the curve. So as then you start to turn, you actually accelerate and push through it. That is the way, I guess, professionals make it happen. And I was fortunate enough to race with him with some pretty nice go-karts and practice that. And it actually makes a big difference. You really halt momentum if you try to brake while you're turning. But if you can increase, and that's what we want to do today. We want to do a little brake touch before we start the turn into the second half of the year so that we can accelerate then when we push in. So let's ask a few questions. What are a few questions we can ask to do an assessment to figure out where we're at? Well, the first one's obvious. What's happened so far in 2023? Let's look back, and let's look back at stats and metrics, right? Not just the feels, because again, we can get up in our feels. We can feel overly good about things that actually aren't that impressive or aren't actually going to lead to future growth. Just because we had a good quarter, a good first half of the year, doesn't mean we actually know what happened. In fact, I have a couple clients like this. They've had great years in the past, and they go, man, this year's been really hard. And I go, why? And I just don't know. Well, okay, let's investigate. What's happened? What's been unique? And all of a sudden, the data tells us some anomalies, some things that happened that made increase possible, but we didn't plan on that. It's not like we can replicate those exact things. In fact, they were out of our control, just anomalies in the system that we can clearly see, but we don't want to replicate them, in fact, because they're not healthy business strategies. And so how do we adjust? How do we learn so that we, A, don't plan on the anomalies to happen, but we actually make a strategy that makes us continue to grow and be successful? So what's happened so far in 2023? What's been out of the norm? What's been the norm? What have we done? How has our strategy both worked and not worked, right? Let's look at some stats and some metrics. You need to be keeping statistical analysis so that you can actually judge reality and not just emotions, not just what you think outside of reality. So what's happened so far in 2023? Number 2, are you on track, right? You should have set some goals, set some metrics, set some waypoints to lead you. Just a minute, my computer shut off. My notes disappeared. When you went into 2023, you should have set some, right? What's your mission for the year? What are the metrics? What do we want to accomplish? And you should be looking at those month by month, right, as we're going along. And so where are we at? Why are we on track? Why are we not on track? What needs to be worked on? What maybe haven't we done as efficiently or as consistently as we should have? Maybe we got distracted by opportunities, distracted by shiny object syndrome that kind of took us off what we said we were going to do. Now's a good time to adjust. Now's a good time to assess. Now's a good time to look. What needs to be worked on? What needs to be celebrated? This is a great time of year to really sit down and go, man, there's been some all-stars on the team. There's some people who have rode hard, that have rode well, and man, let's celebrate. Why do we celebrate? A, because we know that that's healthy. That encourages our team. That encourages momentum and culture. But it also, whatever you celebrate gets repeated, right? So if you celebrate something, especially publicly in front of the whole team, that action is going to be repeated. And so that's why I would encourage you, don't just celebrate statistical wins like, oh, Susie got the most sales, or Johnny, Johnny sold the most, whatever, this marketing campaign was amazing. Talk about what was it that did that? Were they consistent, right? What are the behaviors that allowed them to have that success? Because otherwise it's just, I just got to sell more. Well, how? How can you use that to train the team? Johnny did that. Susie did that because they did something, because they were something. They embodied specific habits, specific mindsets that allowed them to have that success. So if you can drill down to that and champion that, that is easier to replicate. That is easier to hold accountable people. It's easier for you to hold people accountable to those behaviors that will then lead to those actions. So what needs to be celebrated? What needs to be worked on? What needs to be celebrated? What needs to be reset? Maybe you need to lower expectations. Maybe raise expectations. Maybe it's been because you've had focus and momentum, you're ahead of where you thought you'd be. Well, raise the bar even higher. Let's not coast into the second half of 2023. Let's push. Okay, question number 3 then. So question number 1, what's happened so far? Number 2, are we on track? Because you should be rowing to a specific destination, so work that out. Number 3, what needs to be stopped? What needs to be started? What needs to be given some juice? What needs to be stopped? You just got to kill it. When you look at the metrics and the data, it is just a time waste, a money waste, a resource waste. It is not moving forward. Now, again, this is where you got to be mindful. Do you just need to push through because you haven't actually done the work to actually test it? Or have you tested it? Have you been consistent? Have you done in your power what should now have resulted in some good results, some decent results? And you look at the data and go, I don't see a way forward. Right? This is why metrics are important. Then you can see something about this is off, and you can either adjust or you can say it's not worth it. Let's kill it. And this is where you got to be careful. What do you need to start? Now, don't just start something because something's not working, but it's still your fault. It's not working because you haven't been consistent. You've been distracted. You haven't really given it 100%. But there's this new shiny thing that you've heard is really going to be the key. So you're just going to start this new thing. Again, that's not healthy. That's not why you should kill something and start something new. You should start something new because when you look at the data, you see the thing that you need to kill actually needs to be killed because it's not working for some real reason, a tangible reason. And you need to start this because you've assessed it and said, this actually fits us more. This actually fits the clients, the customers, whatever you're trying to do. What needs to be started? Maybe there is something. What needs to just have some more juice? I find that most businesses, when I start to investigate them, they just have too much going on. They have too many strategies, too many things that continually distract them, so they're not able to give 100% to 1, 2, 3 things max. It's like we got to give 23% to all these things, which is why you don't really have momentum. So I'd encourage you, it's a good time to look at your things and go, what are the things that are actually giving us the biggest bang for our buck? What marketing strategies, what sales strategies, what customer strategies, what are we doing, what products, services, what are we doing that's actually giving us the biggest return on investment? How can we put some energy and focus into that and maybe dial some other things down? Doesn't mean you need to kill those other things. Maybe you do. That's, again, what we're doing. We're assessing. We are assessing, adjusting, right? We are making some movements. So want to encourage you, here's some things to think through, right? What's happened so far? Are we on track? Why or why not? What needs to be stopped, started, or given some juice so that we can actually win the rest of the year? Here's some extra questions to think about. How's your team doing? How's the team doing? How are you doing? Now's a good time to make some adjustments, just personally, professionally. We don't want a burnout culture. In fact, we're going into summer, so people have vacations, they have things probably lined up to do some resetting, but don't just leave it on your people and don't just leave it on yourself to hopefully get some refreshment and some re-energization. I just know that oftentimes we put so much stock in, when I finally get to that vacation. And then for some reason, we're so tired that the vacation actually is more work than it should be. It's not really re-energizing. Because we've been working so hard, we make all these grand plans and then we stress out that it's got to be perfect. And the problem is you didn't enjoy your vacation. You tried to look at it like a work project. And by the time you get done with your vacation, you need a vacation from your vacation. And now you have to go back to work and now you're even more tired. So don't do that. Don't do that. And just be careful of your pace, right? We have seasons. Farmers have seasons. Harvest or planting, right? When you got to plant, it's work, it's toil, there's plowing. Then you go into a season where there's weeding and watering, but it's a different pace, right? It's not quite as intense as the planting season. But then harvest is here. You gotta harvest that crop before it rots, before storms come, whatever it is, and that's going to be a more urgent time. It's going to be so you got to look at the seasons, the seasonality of life, of your work, and really ask yourself, when do we need to push? When can we get some slack? When can we breathe a little? And how do we recharge to keep our team fresh? How's your team doing? How are you doing? Let's make some adjustments. Want to encourage you, if you are, if you need some help, if you're like, man, I could use some help doing a tune-up, reach out. Go to HaltingWinter.com, HaltingWinter.com. Go to Small Biz Flight School. Check out the program. We've launched a month ago, but as with always, there's always some hiccups. We've had some tech issues, not for the participants. The participants have been rocking and rolling. It's all the back end on the coaches stuff, actually. That's been a bit, we're still trying to, we still haven't got it figured out totally, but that doesn't matter because actually what I'm doing in flight school, it's not, I already have my own back end program and back end tech stuff. So it's not as important for my clients. So I want to encourage you now, actually this week, we're starting the actual, everyone's in the program. Everyone's got access to the online portal and all the trainings and videos. And so if you want to join, this week's a great week to join because we're actually starting. You could start with us. So I want to encourage you, if that's of interest to you, go to Small Biz, B-I-Z, smallbizflightschool.com and watch the video. There's a 90-second video that Don Miller shot And it's a great, real summary of what flight school's about, and we give you a quick idea if that would be something you can explore. And if that interests you, fill out the application form, and I'll follow up and have a call, and let's chat. Again, I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to help you. I just want to see small business owners succeed, because you are the lifeblood of our communities. You are the ones employing. You are the ones providing products and services that I hope make people's lives better. And so if I can be a help to you in that endeavor, that would be my pleasure. Again, this is Halting Winter. I'm Seth Winterhalter. Follow us on all our social media channels, and let's share this and let's continue to do a good checkup to make sure our business is ready and primed to end the year well. Until next time.